guys today. Caitlin Clark, not too happy about sitting out. She makes it known, I'm the type of player that wants to participate in every single rep. But you see me? You see, I'm handcuffed. Stephanie White, Amber Cox, and Kelly, they got me handcuffed here. I can't do anything about it. I'm handcuffed. I'm shackled. In between reps, they tie me to the bench. I can't even move. Okay.
That's not a joke. That's not playful banter. Listen to the words Caitlin Clark just used. Handcuffed, shackled, tied to the bench. She's making it very clear she doesn't want to be sitting out reps during training camp. But Stephanie White, Amber Cox, and Kelly Krauskopf have other plans. And here's what makes this interesting. This is the exact same approach that led to Kelsey Mitchell's body breaking down last season. So the question becomes, did the Fever actually learn anything, or are they just repeating the same mistakes with different PR language?
2026 begins. Caitlin Clark, I will say this, we are a lot leaner coming into this year than we were last year. Now, I didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't do thousands of videos about Caitlin Clark bulking up, looking all swole. Didn't do that. But noticeably leaner this year. Does that mean she's weaker? No. Does that mean she's not as strong? No. She's leaner. Maybe last year, I don't know what her routine was. Maybe she put on a lot of water weight, some creatine, carrying extra weight that she didn't need to carry. She looks a lot leaner this season.
Now we're getting somewhere. Notice what Caitlin just said. She looks noticeably leaner this season compared to last year. That's significant. Last season, there was quiet speculation about whether her training regimen was optimized for an 82-game grind across college and the WNBA season. She put on mass, but was it the right kind of mass? Was it functional strength, or just extra weight her joints had to carry? This year, she's leaner. That suggests the Fever's performance staff made adjustments. But here's the problem. They won't tell us what those adjustments actually were. Just like they won't tell us what happened to Aaliyah Boston's lower leg.
And let them see what we're all about. So
it's hard to accomplish things. That's the first little jam. It's hard to accomplish things. They got some things, but it's hard to really accomplish things. They got a couple things done, but it's really hard to accomplish things. Okay.
Really thankful for the people that wanted to come here that haven't been here before, then obviously the people that have been here before, Kelsey, Sophie, Lexi, and if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize.
Damn.
But for them wanting to come back and be a part of this, I just think that speaks to what they experienced last year and the team that we built, and also how great our locker room was. And that's kind of a lot of what Steph spoke about, and our team meeting a couple days ago is like how special last season was. Like, sure, like we were a couple calls and a couple people not fouling out or Kelsey getting hurt, and 5 minutes from the finals. So, and that was without about 5 players. So, we're right there, and it takes a lot of hard work. It takes being healthy. It takes a little bit of luck to get back to that point. But I feel like our roster construction is great and gives us an opportunity.
It's gonna take a little luck to get back there. They did as good as they could do, given we're over here. I mean, not many people are, but they did as good as they could do. It's going to take a little luck, but we're going to try to get back there. Fair enough, Caitlin Clark.
And there it is. It's hard to accomplish things. She said it 3 times in 20 seconds. That's not confidence in the front office. That's diplomatic damage control. Caitlin Clark is doing exactly what Stephanie White asked her to do, publicly defend the front office's offseason moves because they're taking heat from the fan base. But listen to what she's really saying between the lines. It's hard to accomplish things means they tried to make moves and couldn't get them done. Thankful for the people that wanted to come here means other players didn't want to come. And when she says it's going to take a little bit of luck to get back to the conference finals, that's not optimism. That's someone who knows this roster still has holes. The Aaron Judge comparison is perfect. Judge praised the Yankees front office publicly, but he also made it clear he was watching other teams make aggressive moves while New York stood pat. That's exactly what Caitlin is doing here. She's being professional, she's being a good teammate, but she's also sending a message. We're not where we need to be yet.
I'm the person that doesn't want to sit out a single rep. I want to be there every single time. No, none of that has changed, but just being a little bit smarter with my body. Before we get into what Caitlin Clark has to say, I'm against, she can say all that. I'm against load rep managing her. I'm against her sitting out reps. We see Jason Tatum coming back very quickly. We see Tom Brady tearing his ACL, coming back the following season, participating and playing in the preseason. So I'm against that. If you follow the NFL at all.
So here's the load management plan. Stephanie White is going to sit Caitlin during training camp reps to keep her fresh for the 44-game regular season. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. Protect your franchise player, don't burn her out before the season even starts. But let's talk about what actually happens when you minimize practice intensity. Look at the NFL. As soon as they reduced OTAs, eliminated two-a-days, and cut preseason games, lower body injuries skyrocketed. Why? Because these are engines that need to stay warm. You can't just park a high-performance athlete for weeks and expect them to turn it on instantly when games start. Tom Brady tore his ACL in 2008 and came back the next season playing in preseason games. Jason Tatum doesn't sit out practice reps. The best athletes maintain their edge by staying in rhythm, not by bubble wrapping themselves. So when Stephanie White says Caitlin doesn't need to be out there every rep, I'm skeptical. Not because rest isn't important, but because we've seen this movie before. Last season, the Fever tried to manage Kelsey Mitchell's workload, and her body still broke down. What's different this time?
Is there an approach change with Kelsey this year?
All right.
She said last year with an overuse thing she felt like at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, numbers matter. Certainly having depth, and hopefully we can keep.
Did we hire a new nutrition staff? Did we hire a new training staff? Did we hire a new physical therapist? Did we put everything in place so Kelsey's body has what it needs in terms of micronutrients, in terms of macronutrients, in terms of rest, has what it needs so her body doesn't go through what it did last season if the burden on her is just as big? Did we do that?
Our depth. In a perfect world, she's not playing that many minutes. None of our starters are playing that many minutes, and we just were in a situation where we had to. So I think managing that early is going to be important. Understanding everybody wants to play, but having a true cadence and a true rotation is going to be really important for us.
Now we're getting to the real issue. Stephanie White just admitted that Kelsey Mitchell and others were playing too many minutes last season because they didn't have depth. That's honest. But then she pivots to talking about managing reps early this season without explaining what structural changes they made to prevent the same problem. Did they hire a new strength and conditioning staff? Did they bring in a sports nutritionist who specializes in recovery protocols? Did they implement new monitoring systems to track player fatigue in real time? We don't know because they won't tell us. Here's what we do know. The Fever gave Aaliyah Boston a massive contract extension during the offseason. That signals they believe her injury isn't serious. But we still don't know what the injury actually was. And that matters, because the type of injury determines the recovery timeline and the risk of re-injury. Was it a stress fracture, a muscle strain, a ligament issue? Each of those has different implications for how she should be managed during training camp.
Games you have, she does what she does. I think the thing I want to see is I just want to see her play with joy. It was such a hard year.
You think sitting in the corner is playing with joy? You think setting off ball screens is playing with joy? I don't think so.
A year ago, when you're going through injury, it's tough. When you're in and out, it's tough. When you're not able to do what you love, it's tough. And so I want to see her play with joy. I want to see her enjoy the opportunity that we have and this team that we have. And
I just want to see her play with joy. That's Stephanie White's stated goal for Caitlin Clark in year 3. And that sounds great, until you remember what playing with joy actually looked like last season. It looked like Caitlin hitting 3 consecutive threes and then getting screamed at from the sideline to stop shooting. It looked like her setting up teammates with perfect passes only to watch them miss open layups. It looked like her running the offense with complete freedom in the first quarter and then being relegated to standing in the corner in the fourth quarter because the coaching staff didn't trust her in crunch time. So when Stephanie White talks about joy, what does she actually mean? Does she mean Caitlin gets to play her natural game, or does she mean Caitlin needs to smile more while running the system White designs? Because those are two very different things.
What's it like kind of just being back and starting, is long?
It's great. I feel like now we can take the season's here, so I'm super excited. All of the women here are super excited, so I'm pumped to get started.
Leah, what exactly was your injury suffered and how are you health-wise now?
Yeah, I just had a lower leg injury, and right now I'm feeling good to go.
A lower leg injury, yes, we know it was a lower leg injury. What was the actual injury?
I just had a lower leg injury, and right now I'm feeling good to go. That's Aaliyah Boston's entire explanation for what kept her out during the offseason. Lower leg injury, that's it. That could mean anything from a rolled ankle to a stress fracture in her tibia. And the Fever are just glossing over it like it's not important information for fans to know. This is the same organization that lost fan trust last season by being vague about injuries and lineup decisions. Did they learn nothing? Here's why this matters. Stephanie White just said they need to monitor AB throughout training camp. That means whatever happened to her lower leg is still a concern. But if fans don't know what the injury was, we can't properly evaluate whether the team is being appropriately cautious or overly paranoid. Transparency builds trust. Vagueness breeds speculation and conspiracy theories. The Fever are choosing vagueness, and that's a problem. So let's put all of this together, because there's a pattern here that should concern every Fever fan. Caitlin Clark is being load managed during training camp, despite clearly wanting to practice every rep. Aaliyah Boston had some kind of lower leg injury that the team won't specifically identify, but they're confident enough to give her a max extension while also saying they need to monitor her carefully. Stephanie White is talking about playing with joy while implementing the same rotation management strategies that led to Kelsey Mitchell's body breaking down last season. And the front office made some off-season moves, but not the moves they really wanted to make, and Caitlin is being asked to publicly defend decisions she had no part in making. Here's what this tells me: the Fever are trying to do the right things, but they're doing them with the wrong level of transparency. Load management isn't inherently bad. Protecting your franchise players from overuse injuries is smart, but you have to explain to your fan base why you're doing it and what specific changes you've made to avoid repeating last season's mistakes. You can't just say we're being smarter this year without defining what smarter actually means. Think about the position this puts Caitlin in. She's 23 years old, entering her third professional season, and she's already being asked to run PR for front office decisions. That's not her job. Her job is to play basketball at an elite level and help the Fever win games. But because the organization won't communicate clearly with fans, Caitlin has to step in and smooth things over. That's backwards. And here's the thing about load management: it only works if you have the depth to support it. The Fever didn't have that depth last season, which is why Kelsey Mitchell was playing 35 minutes a night and her body eventually gave out. Do they have that depth now? Maybe. They brought back some key players and added a few new pieces. But we won't know if it's enough until we're a month into the season, and we see whether the rotation actually holds up. The Aaliyah Boston situation is particularly frustrating because it would be so easy to just tell us what happened. She had a grade 1 ankle sprain. She rehabbed it during the offseason. She's been cleared by multiple doctors, and we're monitoring her workload as a precaution. That's one sentence. That's all it would take to eliminate the speculation. But instead, we get lower leg injury, and we're supposed to just trust that everything's fine. That's not how you build credibility with a fan base that watched you mismanage injuries and rotations all last season. Watch that initial interaction with Caitlin again. The language she uses, handcuffed and shackled, those aren't casual words. She's making it very clear that sitting out goes against every competitive instinct she has. And I respect that. I want my franchise player to have that mentality. But I also need to know that the coaching staff has a plan that goes beyond just sit out some reps and hope for the best. Now compare that to how she talks about the front office's off-season moves. She's supportive, she's diplomatic, but she's not enthusiastic. She's saying the right things because that's what leaders do, but you can hear the subtext. It's hard to accomplish things. We're right there, but we need some luck. Those aren't the words of someone who thinks this roster is a championship contender. Those are the words of someone who knows they're going to have to maximize every possession and hope things break their way. The contrast reveals something important about where the Fever actually are as an organization. They have a generational talent in Caitlin Clark. They have a dominant post presence in Aaliyah Boston. They have a proven scorer in Kelsey Mitchell. Those are 3 legitimate building blocks for a championship team. But the supporting cast still has questions. The coaching staff is still figuring out how to maximize their stars, and the front office is still learning how to communicate effectively with a fan base that grew exponentially last season. Stephanie White talked about joy, and I think that's actually the key to understanding what needs to happen this season. Caitlin needs to play with joy. Yes, but that joy has to come from being empowered to make plays, not from being told to smile while running someone else's system. Aaliyah needs to stay healthy, obviously, but that requires the medical staff to be proactive about monitoring her workload and transparent about any setbacks. Kelsey needs to be protected from the same overuse that broke her down last season, which means the bench players need to actually contribute meaningful minutes. All of that is achievable. The Fever have the talent to be a top 4 team in the league. They have the fan support to create one of the best home court advantages in the WNBA. They have a coaching staff with championship experience. But they also have a pattern of communication failures that undermines trust, and that's what needs to change most urgently. Because in today's media environment, where every practice video gets analyzed and every interview clip gets dissected, you can't afford to be vague. Fans will fill in the blanks themselves, and they won't fill them in with generous assumptions. So the question becomes, will the Fever learn from last season's mistakes, or will we be having this same conversation in July when someone's body breaks down again? Will Aaliyah's lower leg injury turn out to be nothing, or will we find out in 3 months that it was actually serious and they were just hoping it would hold up? Will Caitlin's load management actually keep her fresh, or will it leave her out of rhythm when games start to matter? We don't have answers yet, but we should be getting them. That's what transparency means. That's what accountability looks like. If you're a Fever fan, you should be demanding better communication from this organization. Not because you don't trust them, but because trust is built through honesty, not through vague reassurances. If you're a Caitlin Clark fan, you should be watching how this load management plan actually plays out, because the proof will be in her performance when the season starts, not in what the coaching staff says during training camp. And if you're just a basketball fan who wants to see the WNBA succeed, you should be concerned that one of the league's flagship franchises still hasn't figured out how to talk to its own fans. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you trust the Fever's plan for managing Caitlin's workload, or are you worried they're repeating last season's mistakes? And what do you think actually happened to Aaliyah Boston's leg that they're being so secretive about? I'll be watching training camp closely and breaking down everything that happens, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next update. This season is going to be fascinating, one way or another.